Hello and welcome to Standard Voice Television Global News. Today, 3rd April 2026, equivalent to Islamic calendar, 15th Shawwal 1447, after the hijrah of the noble prophet. In the headlines, President TINUBU and CHADIAN leader DEBY intensify action against terrorists in region. Human rights lawyer Falana and Gani Adams predict one presidential candidate in 2027. Kaduna civil servants threaten industrial action over overdue salary adjustments. And on the international scene, Iran warns UN Security Council against provocative action on Strait of Hormuz. And on sport update, Federation confirms Eagles engages Poland and Portugal in international friendlies. Details of these and more will be coming to you in the news bulletin. I am Sumaya Mustafa. Stay tuned. President Bola Ahmed TINUBU met his Chadian counterpart, Mahamat Idris Deby, at the State House in Abuja in a move to deepen partnership towards fighting terrorism. The Nigerian leader, after the meeting, disclosed that the interaction centered on security challenges in the region, particularly joint action to address terrorism and banditry in the Lake Chad region. He noted that their discussions centered on the security challenges facing the region. Chad is a critical partner in the Multinational Joint Task Force, MNJTF, and resolved to combat terrorism, eliminate acts of terror, and ensure the safety and sovereignty of our nations. TINUBU, who stressed that both countries share a mutual responsibility to secure their borders and protect their citizens, highlighted the long-standing relationship between both nations. He also noted that the sustained warm relationship between Nigeria and Chad has promoted economic growth and regional development. Moving on, the presidency has ordered the installation of over 5,000 surveillance cameras in Plateau State following the recent killing in Jos. President Bola Ahmed TINUBU gave the directive during a town hall meeting with political and traditional leaders in Jos, days after the Palm Sunday attack in Ongworukuba, which left over 27 people dead. He also admitted that no amount of money could compensate victims for their losses, but promised government support and ordered security chiefs to arrest those responsible for the attack. The Nigerian leader announced plans to set up a committee to assess losses suffered by victims and recommend compensation. On his part, the Minister of Communications, Bosun Tijani, said the cameras would be powered by artificial intelligence and deployed across the state according to TINUBU's directive. Starting with Jos, he noted that the technology would enable real-time monitoring and faster response to security threats. A chieftain of the African Democratic Congress ADC, Atiku Abubakar, has criticized President Bola Ahmed TINUBU's condolence visit to Plateau State, calling it a growing disconnect between leadership and the plight of ordinary Nigerians. Senior Special Assistant to Atiku on Public Communication, Frank Shaibu, in a statement issued in Abuja, expressed worry over TINUBU's response to the killings in parts of Plateau State, insisting that the visit fell short of the empathy and urgency demanded by the tragedy. Former Vice President also highlighted that the event in Plateau once again exposed a disturbing and unacceptable approach to national tragedy. He stressed that it is both shocking and insensitive that days after the gruesome killings of innocent citizens, the president's so-called on-the-spot assessment was reduced to a brief stop at the foot of his aircraft. Never extending beyond the airport, never reaching the grieving communities, and never touching the pain of the victims. Atiku also referenced a similar condolence visit to Benue State in June 2025, which he said avoided the worst-hit community and turned into a political gathering, arguing that the repetition suggests a consistent approach rather than an isolated lapse. Still in the news, human rights lawyer Femi Falana and the area owner Kokanfo of Yoruba land, Gani Adams, have asserted that Nigeria may end up with only one presidential candidate in the 2027 election if the judiciary continues to interfere in political party affairs. They made the prediction at the 5th Comrade Yinka Adumakin Memorial Lecture in Lagos, attended by the President of the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC, Joe Ajero, activist and publisher of Sahara Reporters, Omoyele Sowore, and senior advocate of Nigeria, Olumide Fusika, among others. Falana, while delivering the memorial lecture, noted that court orders and conflicting judgments were being used to destabilize political parties, warning that this could lead to a situation where only one political party would field a presidential candidate in 2027. He spoke against the backdrop of Wednesday's pronouncement by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) that it would no longer recognize factions of the African Democratic Congress led by David Mark. And in the same vein, Adams cautioned that Nigeria is sliding into a one-party system, blaming those in power of using the judiciary to suppress opposition parties and the will of the people. Moving on, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has expressed worry over moves by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), saying they point to a broader plan to weaken opposition parties ahead of the 2027 general elections. It noted that the recent decisions by INEC are forwarding fears that the electoral space may already be tilting in favor of the ruling party, pushing the country's political climate closer to breaking point. PDP's Factional National Publicity Secretary, Ini Ememubong, gave the warning in a statement and urged key national institutions to remain neutral and resist any pressure that could undermine democracy. The PDP also accused the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) of being determined to retain power in 2027, whatever it takes. A key flashpoint, the party noted, is INEC's decision to derecognize the David Mark-led National Working Committee of the African Democratic Congress (ADC) as a move it says has deepened political uncertainty and heightened tension. The African Democratic Congress (ADC) has raised alarm over a calculated plan to impose a one-party state ahead of the 2027 general elections, accusing the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) of using the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to weaken opposition parties. ADC National Chairman David Mark, who made this assertion while addressing newsmen at the Yar'Adua Center in Abuja, also demanded the immediate sack of the INEC chairman, Amupitan Joash, over alleged bias and unlawful actions. INEC had on Wednesday announced its resolution to list key ADC figures, including National Chairman David Mark, National Secretary Rauf Aregbesola, and others. INEC, through its National Commissioner and Chairman of the Information and Voter Education Committee, Mohammed Haruna, had said the decision was in compliance with the court order directing the Commission to maintain the status quo pending the determination of the case by the trial court. Mark, while reacting, noted that over the past 3 years, there has been a sustained attack on the freedom of association, a core principle guaranteed in any democracy. He alleged that the aim is to engineer a situation whereby 2027 TINUBU becomes the sole viable choice for Nigerians. The news is coming to you on Standard Voice Television Global News. Still to come in the news. Kaduna civil servants threaten industrial action over overdue salary adjustments. And on the international scene, you will hear that Iran wants UN Security Council against provocative action on Strait of Hormuz. And on sport updates, we will bring to you that Federation confirms Eagles engages Poland and Portugal in international friendlies. Details of these and more will be coming to you after this break. Welcome back from that short break, and now the news continues. The Kaduna State chapter of the Joint Negotiating Council (JNC) has threatened to embark on industrial action over the delay in the payment of consequential salary adjustments for civil servants on grade level 07 and above. The council, an umbrella body of 8 industrial unions in the federal and state public service, disclosed its position following a state administrative council meeting held on March 30, 2026 at the Secretariat of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives in Kaduna. Chairman of the council, Njuma Yusuf, and Secretary Musa Mohammed, in a statement, expressed displeasure with what it described as the state government's deliberate delay and unnecessary dilly-dallying in implementing the salary adjustments. The statement also noted that despite the establishment of a minimum wage and consequential adjustments committee in October 2024, whose report was submitted in November of the same year, the government had yet to act on its recommendations. The JNC said it had written multiple letters to the state governor in October 2025 and January 2026. Moving on, the federal government says ignorance among public servants is a major enabler of unethical conduct, unveiling an aggressive public enlightenment drive to reposition the Code of Conduct Bureau, CCB, as a frontline preventive institution. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, made the assertion while receiving the chairman of the CCB, Abdullahi Usman Bello, and his delegation in Abuja, stressing that many civil servants remain dangerously unaware of the Bureau's full mandates beyond asset declaration. Idris, while outlining corruption as a failure of both awareness and enforcement, insisted that the government's strategy must shift from reactive punishment to proactive prevention. Earlier, CCB Chairman Bello strengthened the Bureau's preventive mandate, describing it as a watchdog committed to stopping corruption at its roots rather than only prosecuting offenders. It disclosed plans to deepen collaboration with the Information Ministry through nationwide sensitization campaigns, strategic media engagement, and targeted capacity building programs targeted at boosting compliance and strengthening ethical standards. Moving on, the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, BON, has announced plans to hold the second edition of its Nigeria Broadcasting Awards, TNBA, on April 8, 2026. BON, in a statement in Abuja, said the decision to organize the long-awaited second edition of the award followed several months of painstaking process and preparations that was endorsed by the 74th General Assembly of BON held in Kano in the year 2021. It added that the award will be held on Wednesday, April 8, 2026 at the NAF Conference Center, Abuja. It was gathered that this year's edition, which is the second in the series, began with the call for submission of entries, which generated a total of 2024 entries of the broadcast performance in the year 2024. The award selection committee was led by a former BON Director General, Ladibako, with other members drawn from key industry players such as the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria, ARCON, and veteran broadcasters, among others. The second edition will also recognize the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State, and that of Kaduna State, Ubasani, among others. Still in the news, the Chief of Staff to the Zamfara State Governor, Mukhtar Lugga, escaped death after bandits opened fire on his vehicle along the Funtua to Gusau Highway near Kucheri village. It was gathered that the attack occurred around 6:16 p.m. while he was returning to Gusau from an official engagement alongside his driver and two other occupants. According to accounts, bandits emerged from both sides of the road and opened fire, with a bullet piercing the windshield and narrowly missing the driver. Another attacker attempted to shoot at close range, but the weapon failed to discharge. Meanwhile, the vehicle managed to escape the ambush, and all occupants were confirmed safe and uninjured. The Kucheri axis has witnessed repeated bandit attacks in recent months, raising continued security concerns along the highway. Security sources say investigations are underway. And on the international scene, Iran has cautioned the UN Security Council against any provocative action ahead of the planned vote on a draft resolution on the Strait of Hormuz that ended up being postponed. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi warned that any provocative action by the aggressors and their supporters, including in the UN Security Council, regarding the situation in the Strait of Hormuz will only complicate the situation. Araghchi was speaking ahead of a scheduled Security Council vote on a draft resolution mandating a force to protect shipping through the Strait of Hormuz today, Friday. It was later announced that the vote was postponed with no new date scheduled. The Strait of Hormuz, a shipping lane vital to global energy flows, has been all but shut since the United States and Israel launched strikes against Iran on February 28. The 15-member body was set to vote on a draft resolution brought by Bahrain on authorizing the use of defensive force to protect shipping in Hormuz from Iranian attacks, according to the official program. And lastly, on sport news, the Nigeria Football Federation (NFF) says the Super Eagles will face Poland and Portugal in international friendlies in June as part of preparations for upcoming global competitions. NFF Director of Communications Ademola Olajire, in a statement in Abuja, confirmed the high-profile fixtures and described them as crucial tests for the team. FIFA match agent for the NFF, Jairo Pachin of Erodata Sport, said the match against Poland would be played at the PGE Narodowy Stadium in Warsaw on June 3, while the game against Portugal will take place on June 10 at a venue to be announced later. Olajire explained that the matches would help the technical crew assess the squad against top European opposition, adding that these fixtures are important for Nigeria as a team seeking to build momentum and cohesion ahead of major competitions. He said the games would also provide an opportunity to test new players and tactical approaches. Nigeria is also scheduled to defend their title at the Unity Cup tournament in London from May 26 to May 30 before the June friendlies. Finally, on the news, here is a recap of the top stories again. President TINUBU and CHADIAN leader DEBY intensify action against terrorists in region. Human rights lawyer Falana and Gani Adams predict one presidential candidate in 2027. Kaduna civil servants threaten industrial action over overdue salary adjustments. And on the international scene, Iran warns UN Security Council against provocative action on Strait of Hormuz. And on sport update, Federation confirms Eagles engages Poland and Portugal in international friendlies. And that's the size of the news on Standard Voice Television Global News. Our next news bulletin comes up to you later. On behalf of the news editor, Ilya Adamu Auta, and the production crew, I am Sumaya Mustafa, thanking you and bye for now.